All right, so we're getting kind of close on the diffuse map for being pretty much done here. There's really not much more that we're going to be able to clean up in here. Almost all the other cleanup is going to have to happen in the normal map. So from here out, we're just going to be starting to do the fun stuff. Okay, we're going to create a new layer, and our next layer is going to be our kind of ornamental. So let's call that ornamental. Okay, so there's ornamental, and what this is going to be is so if I just show you in the original, so if you look at this again, right, we have these like cool looking ornamental pieces in here, right? So we're going to start adding those and creating those. Okay, so it's not too hard, it's kind of easy actually. You can create these kind of elements in Illustrator, or you can do them in Photoshop. I'm not going to really go through how to make these. They're pretty straightforward. I mean, just draw them. It's not a big deal. Alright guys, so here I am in Illustrator, and I've just done a couple basic little elements, basically the ones we're going to need. I'm going to go ahead and save this as a PNG for you, so you guys have it too. And basically what we're going to do is we're just going to use these elements for our sword pieces. Okay, so let's just go ahead and grab the first one, and I'm gonna do these all as separated PNGs, so you can just open up your PNGs and copy and paste them into your file. I'm just doing it from Illustrator. Okay, I'll give you the Illustrator file as well in case you have Illustrator and you'd like to use it. So Photoshop, and I'm just gonna zoom out, and I'm gonna zoom into the area that I want to put these little things into. So I'm gonna go Control V. And it's going to give me this option because I'm coming from Illustrator. So I'm just going to choose, you know what, I'll do it the way you guys would have it, which is pixels, which is how it would copy over from the Photoshop PNGs. So I'm just going to do it that way. And I'm just going to kind of put it into position. All right. So, and I'm going to make it a little bigger. Good. And now I'm just going to zoom in and nudge it in there perfectly. So edit, transform, scale. And I'm just going to scale it in and put it into position. So there it goes. Okay, and now I'm just going to switch back over to Illustrator, and I'm just going to grab my next one, and I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste. And the same thing again. Yeah, it was good the first way. That's pretty good. All right, great. So those, I'd like that a little bigger. Edit, transform, scale, and I'm just going to make it just a wee bit bigger. All right, good. So now I've got those two done. And those are in my, what I want to do is I want to actually make sure that those are in my ornamental layer. So, or my ornamental folder, rather. So now that they're there, and because I know that they're going to be moved together all the time, so I'm just going to right click and go merge layers. Okay, so they're merged now. Okay, great. So now that they're merged, what I can do is I can just copy that whole group and not have to worry too much. They're really dark, so I'm just going to fill them. So edit, fill, and I'm going to choose a nice red color, and I'm going to choose a nice red. Okay, that's good enough. Actually, I should make it a little bit brighter, so that's what I'll do. A little bit brighter just so we can see it. Okay, and there we have it. So so now we've got those in place, and I'm just going to Alt and drag it down, and I'm going to Alt and drag it over. Edit, transform, flip horizontal, and I'm just going to nudge it into place. All right, great. So now I'm just going to Alt and drag it up, and I should be in pretty good shape now. Okay, so earlier I was saying I wanted to make this darker, so I think I'm going to do that now. So I'm just going to close up my ornamental layer, and I'm going to open up my base colors, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my my sword hilt decoration back. So I'm just going to go Edit, Fill, and I'm just going to make that color a lot darker. And no, I don't, yeah, that's good. Little bit gray, but okay, that's good enough. So okay, and I want to preserve transparencies, and there we go. So that should look pretty good now. We'll get a lot more standing off on that now, so that's good. I don't know if I want to check this once more a little bit. Yeah, I just want to get this cleaned up. It was bothering me earlier, and I want to get it done. So I'm just going to select, and I'm just going to paint this area. Where's the paintbrush? There we go. And I just want to set this to a reasonable size, so something like, I don't know, 10 pixels. So I have to close up my base colors and go into my original output, and I'm just going to grab that the copy layer again, and I'm going to turn off all my other layers. So all I have is the grayscale. So now I can actually do this really easily, and I'm just going to clean this up. And the blur tool, it's a great tool for this kind of stuff. It really is. So that's good. You know what? I might not even need anything but the blur tool. I kind of don't. That's good. It's okay to have undulations. It's just not good to have those sharp, edgy undulations. Those don't work so good. So that's pretty good. And I'm just going to select this gray and paint it in there. Sorry, my cat just nudged my arm and knocked my hand out of the way. And I'm just going to blur it. Alright, so that should look decent. Yeah, it's going to look better. So let's jump in here and do the same thing. So, blur tool, and see if we can just do it with that for now. And select, and paint. And blur. Should be fine. Yeah, it's pretty good. This is going to be okay. And up here is good. So yeah, that's looking a lot better. So let's just fit on screen, and let's turn everything back on again. Alright, so let's go back to our ornamental folder, and I'm just going to switch back over to Illustrator, and I'm going to grab my this guy. Okay, so Control C, and I'm just going to flip back to Photoshop and Control V, and I'm going to do it as pixels again, and I'm just going to kind of nudge this into place and scale it up until it seems to fit nicely. And that feels about good. And actually, that worked out pretty darn nice. So I'm just going to zoom in a touch, and I'm just going to drag it down a bit and grab myself a circle. And basically what I want to do is mimic the circle we currently have. So select transform selection, and let's just bring it up until it's cutting this out, okay? And try to make it so that it's as centered as possible, so that it looks even and nice. So that's probably about good. Return and delete. So now our little top follows the curve that we have of our sword, sword's hilt. Okay, it'll just feel a little nicer, and we're just going to alt drag that up. And yeah, let's take a look. So Control Shift S for save as, TGA, and save. Yes. Okay. And I'm just going to flip over to my LT now. And here, I'm just going to turn everything back on again. And I am now going to load up my textures. So Attribute Editor, DX5, and I want to grab my diffuse map and hit reload. Alright, so now we're starting to get those cool looking little symbols in there, right? And we're going to make them look even better soon, but that's looking a lot better. And we're starting to really look like something now. You know, now it's starting to really take some shape and start to look cool. So we still have to deal with some issues, but we'll get to them one thing at a time. This I just don't know what to do about. That's definitely going to be in the normal map though, so we'll deal with it there. Yep, we'll deal with it there. Okay, cool. So so that's looking good. That's looking good. This here is a little bit of an error that we have to fix. So let's do that now. Okay, here we are in Photoshop again, and basically what's happening is if we look at our outlines, right, and kind of zoom in here, right, what we can see is that the outline is getting cut off by the diffuse map. Okay, and I'm not really sure why that ended up happening. It should have, we had built-in extra bleed, but it must have just been a dark area or something, but it doesn't really matter. We can fix it easily enough. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my polygonal lasso tool, and I'm going to go to my main output copy layer, and I'm just going to select this area so that I'm covering kind of this whole thing. And I'm just going to use my select tool, grab that gray, and go edit, fill. And I'm going to go foreground color. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. So grab my select tool. And this time I'm just going to make my life a little easier now that you know what we're doing. And I'm just going to shift select these. And this one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go edit, fill, and foreground color, and OK. Control D, and we should be in good shape. You know, at this little spot, just in case, I just want to make sure it's kind of cleaner. So there we go. Edit, fill, foreground color, OK, close. And now I'm just going to turn off my outlines, and I'm going to do another save as file, save as, TGA, save. Yes. Okay. All right, so good. All right, guys, so let's just keep on cleaning up here, and let's jump into our little cool, now we're going to start doing some more fun things, I guess, just to break up the monotony. So we're going to get into these little ornamental areas, okay, and all the red ones, and these black ones need to go in there too. So I'm just going to put these black ones in there, and I'm actually going to do what we did on that last layer down here, and I'm just going to start merging my stuff of like kind. So all my red layers I'm just going to merge together, and my black layers I'm going to merge together, and now I should have these on one layer, and these on another, and these on another layer, okay? So, and as you can see, everything moves with them, so that's good. So now what we're going to want to do is kind of make this feel a little more natural. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click and go blending options. And in here we have some cool options that we can select. So I'm just going to click the bevel and emboss, and I'm just going to kind of make this so that it feels a little bit 3D. As you can see, it's adding this little bit of a highlight and a little bit of shadow, and it's just kind of beveling that surface a touch, just to give it some life and make it feel a little good. I'm also going to click on the satin just to kind of make it feel a little more like kind of just cool, and we can just tinker around in there a touch till we get it to look the way we want. It just kind of softens that up and makes it look a little more alive. It does have a tendency to darken things, so we're probably going to have to come in and brighten things up again. So we can actually even do that with the color overlay at this point, and see if I can get a brighter red out of it, although that's about as bright of a red as I can get. Okay, we'll just handle that with the glow map when we get to it. So that's pretty good, and we might even want to do a little something to that, but we're not gonna, no, it's not needed. So that's good. I'm just gonna hit OK, and now we're kind of set. Alright, so now that we kind of have some stuff going on with our little ornaments here, let's just keep going. And I'm going to go down to this black layer, and I'm going to grab my polygon selection tool, and I'm just going to kind of make a cool shape right here, just to give it a little life on the sword blade. So, you know, something just kind of fun. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I just want to make sure that this kind of follows the same angle. And once I get my selection kind of where I want it, I'm just going to go ahead and hit Edit, Fill, Black. Okay. And that should be good. So let's just zoom out a touch. And because we're putting it in this layer, we have to always move these things with a selection or to copy and paste it and do it that way. So I'm just going to move it in and make sure it's selected, and now I can just kind of nudge. And I'm now going to zoom out and hold down Alt to copy it over, and Alt to copy it over again, edit, transform, flip horizontal, and nudge it into place. Alt again, and nudge it into place. All right. Now, obviously the opacity is way too high, so I'm just going to come down on the opacity some. And I think I'm going to need to put these on a separate layer, so I'm just going to select them all, cut and paste, and just move them back to where they belong. That should be good. Now I can individually adjust these guys, and something like that should be okay. And let's zoom out. Okay, so what we're going to want to do next is our specularity. We want to have some sort of specular so we get to see these highlights kind of coming out better. So what we're going to do is we're going to go add a new folder, and it's at the top. And we're going to call this one specular. And this is a kind of a down and dirty way to get a specular. So don't, like there's lots of ways to handle your specular. This is not the end all be all way. This is just one that works, and it works pretty well, and it gives you a pretty okay output and will get you what you want kind of quick. So yeah, you should definitely do more with your specularity maps than I'm going to do in this video, but you know, this is all art form, and I don't want to belabor this video forever and ever and ever with all little tips and tricks in Photoshop and blah blah blah. I'm just going to show you a quick and dirty way to go ahead and get your specularity map out. Okay, so I'm just going to go yeah, specular, and I'm going to go down here. We have these little options, and I'm just going to go vibrance. You know what, let's do levels first. Okay, and with our property info panel, which is under Windows properties, I believe. Windows, yeah, properties. Okay, so you can now adjust on the fly your coloring. So we're going to go ahead and find something that kind of will work for us here. And that should be okay for now. Now what we're just going to do is go File, Save As, and now we have to change our texture name. So we're going to go Targa, and we're going to change the name of it to Specular. TGA save. Okay. And now because we did it on a folder, we can just turn it off again, right? And that's okay. So it's just a nice easy way to just get a quick and dirty specular. You can do a bunch of these other things. I actually sometimes go pretty nuts adding layers of these, so like maybe a brightness contrast or an exposure or whatever else. You know, hue and saturation is always a nice one to utilize. You just have to make sure it's in the folder so it gets adjusted at the same time. And you know, you can do things in here, and you know, you can kind of keep messing with the properties till you get what you want. You can adjust your colorations, bring down your saturation, bring up your lightness. I generally, on a metal, I want it to be a little darker with a little more, yeah, something like that. So, something like so. And I don't want this to be so pinkish. That's the only drawback to that. So, let's see if I can, should be okay though. All right, so that's going to be our specular for now. And save it. Yep. Okay. And let's flip back over to Maya LT. And let's actually load up a specular now. So in here, we're going to now turn on specular, and we're going to grab a specular map. And again, this is in textures working, so sort specular. And now we're going to get these really nice reflective qualities. See that? Starting to really come together, huh? Hey guys, so what I've done is I've kind of jumped ahead here. for the interest of saving some time. At this point, you have basically all the pieces you need to take the sword to this level. That's the base of where I would begin, and that's basically all you really kind of need. As you could see in the last model, it was really looking good, but all I've done is I've kind of added some dirt, some special effects, and some little touches just to kind of make it come alive. And I don't want to go through hours of video on this just to show you how to do texturing. There are lots of videos out there for good quality texturing, and you know, it's very artistic, so how you're going to design it is going to be very different from how I would design it. So I'm just going to show you what I've kind of done, and I'm just going to move on to getting this actually ready for the Dota 2 engine. So yeah, so let's just take a look and jump over to Photoshop, and let's see what we got. So here we are in Photoshop, and as you can see, it's really not much different. Like if I take away the dirt and the scratches, it's basically where you are. I've added a few more ornamental layers. I've added some kind of you know, effects on them, and you can just look through this file and get all the details yourself. I am going to make it available, and what I just want to show is a couple of the things that you don't have really done, which is going to be the normal map, right? So this is the normal map. And all I did was I copied that from the output folder and pasted it into here, and I made a duplicate so that I could edit one of them without harming the original. And basically all I did was I used the clone stamp tool to kind of take out some of these little edgy areas, like up in here is a really obvious one. But yeah, I basically just clone stamped out some of these areas and made it nice and clean. I don't even think you really need to. I did. You can choose to or not to, depending on how good your bake was. But yeah, basically all you're going to do is clone stamp out some of the areas, and that'll be that. You will need to download the NVIDIA toolkit. So just do a Google search for normal maps NVIDIA. You should find it no problem, and it's called the normal map filter. And just install that. And when you're done with your editing, you're just going to want to make sure that you say normalize only, okay? And then hit OK, and that'll make sure that there's no offensive angles in this map. But yeah, just use the clone stamp tool and you should be perfectly fine. And try to keep the colors obviously consistent and close to what they once were. So yeah, like, you know, as you can see here, I mean, I didn't change the way that it's looking. All I did was I got rid of the bad spots, you know. So just try to do that and you should be in good shape. So that's the normal map. I added a glow map as well. And all this really is I put a black layer at the bottom of it so that when I turn on the glow, it just blocks out everything else. And then I basically have a little bit of a dirt layer, and I have a little more of a dirt layer or a cloudy smoke layer, right? And then I have the red layer, right? And there's two of them for the outside pieces too. And all that's going to do is tell us where we want it to glow, and for our purposes in Maya LT, it'll actually tell us what color it will glow. In Dota 2, it'll only be a grayscale image, but you know, why not do it right and then convert down is the way I figure it. So so there we have it. So that's basically it. My specular map got a little more complex. Basically, I have a levels, a brightness and contrast, and a hue and saturation, and that's what I'm using to basically do this control. And the I added a noise layer below it and put it to a darken, just so that it kind of gives us that gritty kind of, it just makes it feel good. So try it. If you don't like it, take it out. That's what it would look like without. See how it adds that little bit of grittiness? You know, it just really works nicely, I think. And this is another one that's just more of a dirt and grunge grit layer. So those are only applied when I add specular. So there you have it. So that's what your Photoshop should kind of look like if you're going for this style. But you can paint this up however you want. And this is what I did, and I wouldn't even call this done. This is just done enough, I think. And it looks good. So so we're just going to move on, and we're now going to start getting all this stuff ready to actually be used for the Dota 2 because it has some special ways that it wants the files formatted. So that's what the next part's going to be about. Just getting everything in line and making sure everything's ready. And yeah, let's get to it. All right, cool.